A huge explosion occurred as Ukrainian Brigade destroys a Russian tank which was attempting to escape the Kherson region. Ukrainian forces are poised to engage in fierce fighting with Russian troops in the annexed region of Kherson. Ukrainian forces have struck a Russian tank in a massive explosion. The footage first shows the Ukrainian forces are poised to engage in fierce fighting with Russian troops in the annexed region of Kherson. Ukrainian forces have struck a Russian tank in a massive explosion. While footage first showed the Russian tank in flames, a second strike tore apart the Russian tank. The sheer power of the detonation set the turret of the tank flying in the air. The explosion sent a plume of dark smoke over the Kharkiv region where the attack happened. After retaking the region of Kharkiv, Ukrainian forces are now focusing their military efforts 390 miles further south in the Kherson region, which is another province of Ukraine that Vladimir Putin annexed to Russia. In anticipation of the Ukrainian counteroffensive, Russian troops are reportedly evaluating their sick and wounded soldiers from hospitals stealing medical equipment as they leave the region with 70,000 civilians. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has accused the Russian occupiers of being engaged in mass theft of life-saving medical tools and ambulances in a bid to make the area uninhabitable. In a video address, the Ukrainian president said Russia is making Kherson a zone without civilization, without basic facilities and things available in most countries of the world. Before Russia came, this region, like all other regions of Ukraine, was quite normal and safe. All social services were guaranteed to people. They were guaranteed a happy, peaceful life. And now Russia is trying to make Kherson region literally an exclusion zone. Among the items stolen by the retreating Russian forces are washing machines, air conditioners, fire engines, and rescue vehicles, according to the local people of Kherson. Ukrainian forces are steadily moving towards Kherson, one of the first regions which was seized by Russia in the early days of the war. Kherson city is only 18 miles away from a group of Ukrainian troops, according to Ukrainian officials. The head of the main intelligence directorate of Ukraine's Ministry of Defense, Kirill Butanov, said that the military operation for the liberation of Kherson could last until the end of November. He believes the most trained and capable Russian soldiers are currently in Kherson. The Ukraine Foreign News Agency reported Mr. Butanov said a large share of them are from airborne troops of the Russian Federation, Russian Special Operation Forces, and the Naval Infantry, so the most capable units that Russia has. Those units formed the backbone of the grouping, and it's being strengthened by the mobilized personnel. Russian troops could blow up the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant and the bridge connecting the two banks of the river in a bid to stop the Ukrainian advance. Mr. Budanov have added that this might happen when Ukrainian troops take Kherson and if the Russians decide to retreat. After withdrawal from the west bank of the Dnipro River, they might turn to obstruct our advancement to the east bank. He said if Ukraine retakes Kherson, it would offer the Ukrainian forces a gateway to the Kremlin-annexed Crimean Peninsula and the commercially important Sea of Azov. Meanwhile, Vladimir Putin could lose tens of thousands of soldiers in Kherson due to their poor war training. A retired general suggested Vladimir Putin's strategy of beefing up his forces with untrained conscripts appears to be failing, as tens of thousands of his soldiers could soon be under a Ukrainian attack. A former U.S. general said a total of 40,000 Russian troops are stationed on the western side of the Dnipro River in Kherson. With no way out of the conflict, these troops could soon be decimated by the major Ukrainian counteroffensive. Retired Lieutenant General Mark Hertling said, looking at the state of play, Ukraine General Hertling told Media Russia is basically stacking their defenses with new mobilized recruits. But again, those recruits are absolutely untrained, terrible, and joining units with low morale. So what we're seeing really is Russia feeding more meat to a meat grinder, and Ukraine will have increased challenges with countering those kinds of larger units because, after all, quantity has a quality of its own. The retired general said, I think because of the capability of Ukraine's army, they will eventually win Russians down one of the areas in that southern area of Kherson. Estimates by Ukrainian intelligence are that there are close to 40,000 Russian troops on the western bank of the Dnipro River that have no means to escape. When you don't have the ability to resupply soldiers to escape or withdraw, it is going to be very difficult. And there is the huge potential for Ukraine to capture a great many of those soldiers and take them completely out of action. Ahead of a Ukrainian attack, Russian officials have completed an operation to move 70,000 civilians out of the occupied southern city of Kherson. The civilians have crossed to the eastern bank of the Dnipro River. President Vladimir Zelensky has accused Russian forces of engaging in the theft of medical equipment and making the Kherson area an exclusion zone. In a video message on Friday, President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia is making Kherson a zone without civilization, without elementary things available in most countries of the world. Before Russia came, this region, like all other regions of Ukraine, was quite normal and safe. All social services were guaranteed to people. Their life was guaranteed there. And now Russia is trying to make the Kherson region literally an exclusion zone. The world must respond to this.